Welcome, this is the Math Dog here. In this video I'm going to look at what I'll call a grade 7 topic, adding multiple positive and negative numbers together using what I call clumping. It's not a general term, that's what I call it. Note this video may not be shared or reproduced without the consent of myself, the creator, the Math Dog. So let's start by recalling the rules for adding, subtracting positive and negative numbers. And we're dealing strictly here with integers, which are your positive, negative whole numbers. Your whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And then the integers are also then the negative whole numbers, the negative of the whole numbers, that's negative 1. Negative 2, negative 3, and this goes forever in both directions. So first of all, remember the negative can mean take the opposite of. The negative sign can be interpreted to mean take the opposite of. So if I'm taking the negative of a negative, that means this changes to a positive because the opposite of a negative is a positive. And here, the negative of a positive, well, changes the positive to a negative. So 3 minus 6 here, I will take the double negative there, put it in parentheses. You don't have to put it in parentheses. You could write it as 3 minus 6 like that also. That becomes a plus, so this is 3 plus 6, which is 9. This is 3, take the opposite of positive 6, so this becomes a negative, so this is 3 minus 6, which is negative 3 from previous videos and previous things, which we're going to talk about again here very shortly. So 3 minus 6, remember I have more negatives than positives. This also could have been written as 3 plus negative 6. Remember 6 minus 3 is 3, so what I do is I ignore the signs here. 6 minus 3 is 3, but since negative 6 is further from 0 than 3, it must end up being negative 3. So also recall when adding all positives you get more positives. So 4 plus 7 is 11, 10 plus 25 is 35. 4 minus 8, well that becomes plus 8, so 4 plus 8 is 12. When adding all negatives, you get more negatives. So if I have negative 6 minus 14, I put them all together. I could also write this as plus negative 14. Well, I have 6 negatives, 14 negatives makes a total of 20 negatives. And the last one here, negative 21 plus negative 7, I have all negatives. 21 and 7 is 28. I have all negatives, so it is negative 28. So when adding a positive number with a negative number, you subtract the numbers, and then b, the sign of the answer is that of the number furthest from 0. So let's look at these examples here as a review. So negative 7 minus 3, well double negative, that's positive. So this is negative 7 plus 3 over to the side. I take 7 minus 3, so I ignore the sign here. I take the difference, which means subtract of the numbers. 7 minus 3 is 4. But now I go back to this. Negative 7 is further from 0 than positive 3, so my answer must be negative. So my final answer is negative 4. Next question, or next problem, negative 8 plus 10. Okay, well, forget the sign there for a number. Take the difference of what we call the absolute value, the positive value of both numbers. So 10 minus 8 is 2, but 10 is further from 0 than negative 8, so the answer's got to be positive 2. Again, remember you don't see this too often, you could write it like that actually also. Okay, then negative 6 minus 25, well that's the same as 6 plus negative 25. So now forget the signs for a second, take 25 minus 6, so that's going to be 19. But since I have more negatives than positives, it has to be negative 19 for my final answer. And then finally, negative 17 minus 6, take the opposite of negative 6 here, that becomes plus 6. Over here, take away the sign for a second. That's 17 minus 6, which is 11. So then I have more negatives than positives, so it has to be negative 11. So now let's look at a problem where we have multiple terms. Each of these is a term. 1, 2, there's 4 terms here. Okay. Well, first we're going to do on number line. It's not a very efficient way, but let's do it. This double negative becomes a positive. If I want, I could call this plus negative 6. So if I go left to right, I start at negative 4. Okay. Then plus 5 is 5 east, which puts me at 1. Then I go plus negative 6, so that's 6 west. Puts me at negative 5. Then finally plus 10 is 10 east. So my final answer is 5. Not a very efficient way of doing that. So let's rewrite the problem. We have negative 4 minus minus 5 minus 6 plus 10. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put all the... First I'm going to clean this up. That's plus 5. Write this as plus negative 6. You don't have to. But I'm going to put all the negatives together. So all my negatives, I'm starting. I have a negative 4 and I have a negative 6. So I have negative 4 and negative 6 over here. Then over here I'm going to put all my positives. So I have 5 and 10. Okay. So now negative 4 minus 6, those are all negatives, so I have more negatives, so that's negative 10. 5 plus 10 is 15. So now I take the difference here. 15 minus 10 is 5. And since I have more positives than negatives, it's positive 5. So I call this again clumping, where I group all the negatives together first, group all the positives together, then I take the difference of the two to get my final answer. Let's do another example. So on a number line, this time I'm going to write below it and clean it up. That's 6 plus 3. I'll call that plus negative 7 plus negative 4. Double negative makes positive. So 6 plus 3 minus 7 plus negative 4 plus 1. So if I do this on a number line, starting at 6, I go 3 east. So I'm supposed to start at 6. I start at 5. I gotta fix that. So I start at 6, not 5. So go 3 east. Okay, now I go 7 west, so I go to the left 7. Okay, now I go 4 west, which is negative 4. And then I go 1 to the right, which puts me at negative 1 for my final answer. Not a very efficient way of doing it, but you can do it that way, and it maybe helps you see what's going on. So now let's use clumping. So I have 6 minus negative 3 minus 7 plus negative 4 minus minus 1. Alright, so the double negatives, make those plus. I'll make this a plus negative 7, and I'll make this plus 1. So now let's group all our positives together over here. So I have 6, I have 3, and I have 1. Let's group all our negatives over here. So I have negative 7, and I have negative 4. So 6 plus 3 plus 1 is 10. Negative 7 minus 4 is negative 11, since all negatives together make more negatives. So now I have 10 plus negative 11. Well, 11 minus 10 is 1. Remember, take off the signs for a second. 11 minus 10, take the difference or subtract. Then look at the two numbers. Well, this one, negative 11, is further from 0 than 10, so my final answer must be negative 1. Okay, one last example. Let's do it on the number line first. So this is 1. I'll write this as plus -2. Double negative there makes plus 3. Plus -4. Plus 2 minus 8, or plus -8. So if I start on a number line, I start at 1. So 1 plus -2, that's 2 west, or 2 left. Then I go 3 right. Then I go 4 left or 4 west. Then I go 2 east. And then I go 8 west. I end up at -8. So let's now do this using clumping. So let's rewrite that as 1 plus -2. Double negative there makes plus 3, plus -4, plus 2. I'll make this plus -8. So let's put all our positive terms together. We have 1, 3, 2. So 1 plus 3 plus 2. Then all my negative terms over here, I have a -2, a -4, and a -8. So I have -2 plus -4 plus -8. So here I have 1 plus 3 plus 2 is 6. Here I have -2 plus -4 plus -8. Well, -2 plus -4 is -6. -6 plus -8 is -14. So now I forget the sign for a moment, I take the difference, which is subtracting. 14 minus 6 is 8. Okay, not my final answer. Now I go back and look at this. So I have 6 plus -14. I have more -14 is further from 0 than 6, so my answer must be negative. So my final answer is -8. Okay, so now here's some practice for you using just arithmetic. And then after you've done that, if you want to do it before that, do it on the number line and verify that you get the same answer both ways. So for this problem, stop the video, and then when you're done, turn it back on and see if you agree with what I got. Okay, so I've got 1 minus 4 minus 6. I'm going to make that a plus 6 minus 7 plus 8. So I'm going to use clumping here. So I'm going to group together all my positives. So that's 1, 6, and 8. So that's 15. Then I'm going to group all my negatives together. Well, that's -4 minus 7, which is -11. Taking the difference of the two, 15 minus 11, well, that's just 4. So our final answer should be 4. So now let's do this on the number line. So I start at 1. Then I go -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I go 6, add 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take away 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then add 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I get 4 that way also, which I should have. Okay, here's another practice question. Okay, so do the same thing. Stop the video. When you're done, turn the video back on, see if you agree with what I got. Okay, so here I'm going to put all the negatives together. -1 minus 2 minus 11. So those are all negatives. That's going to be -3 minus 11. That's -14. Then group all my positives together. 5 plus 6, which is 11. So I have -14 plus 11. Well, that's going to be 14 minus 11 is 3, but I have more negatives, so my final answer should be -3. So let's verify that on the number line. So I start at -1, add 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take away 2, 1, 2, add 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then take away 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we get negative 3 that way also. Okay, here's your final practice problem. Stop the video. When you're done, turn it back on and see if you agree with what I got. Alright, so here I'm going to make this plus 4, make this plus 7. So now I'm going to clump together my negatives. So I have negative 1 minus 8, which is negative 9. Then my positives, I have 4, 2, and 7. 4 plus 2 plus 7, that's 6 plus 7, that's 13. So I take 13 minus 9 is 4, and since 13 is more positive than negative 9 is negative, the answer is positive 4. So let's finish off by doing this on the number line. So I've got negative 1, start at negative 1 again, plus 4, plus 2, minus 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then add 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which puts me at 4. And this concludes this video. I hope it was helpful. I think this is a good way to add a lot of positive and negative numbers using this clumping technique.